What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another here episode of East Coast Avengers in our series for the character reviews. We have the illustrious Iron Man who is dead but came back to join us for
That is not Iron Man, everybody. Please take off that mask, JT.
and then we have
You too, Darren.
we have Christian, Dominic, and we have Ant-Man who decided to make an appearance.
That's not Ant-Man.
Well.
That's Darren. It is not Paul Rudd.
Maybe it's Civil War.
Hey,
okay, good for
you. Gotta
you.
show love to these guys, man. Thank you guys.
Iron Man.
Our fourth installment of this segment where we review characters that you may have not heard of before or heard little of, and the point of it is to just kind of let ourselves learn a little bit about these characters, and for perhaps you to learn. Oh, JT and Darren are here. What are the odds?
Whoa, what did we miss? I was just talking about Ant-Man. Scott Lang, he was just back there chilling. So you met Paul Rudd and came out my room. You know what I'm saying? Just kidding. You met Paul Rudd.
I can't believe I missed him. Oh, wow.
Oh, what a bummer. You already met Scott Lang. It's okay.
Dang.
Well,
you met Paul Rudd, not Scott Lang, actually. Excuse me.
I mean, I wish I did meet Scott Lang, but yes, Paul Rudd is right up there too, and you all should be jealous.
Oh, yeah? You know who I met?
Who did you meet, JT?
I already know you about to say it, but it's not even superhero related. Get out of here. Don't even mention it. We know.
I bet you he's going to also, he didn't mention it, but what's the name of that? Freaking, what name? Chris Claremont's like a third episode in a row where he...
We all met.
I know, we all did.
Yeah, let me just show you.
JT, hold up.
Every episode's going to be dedicated to Chris Claremont, clearly.
Oh, wait, you said Chris Claremont? Give me a second.
Oh, my.
Wait a minute, I think I got something too as well.
Oh, what do you have?
I think.
We're all just leaving here. You know what? I'll join the party.
Okay. What's up, Christian?
I don't know if everyone's getting something.
You come here often?
It's okay.
Uh-oh. I don't know if y'all can see that.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, so
Days of Future Past.
Are we showing off autographs?
I thought you just did.
I thought we were doing character review.
That's what I mean, get that stuff out of here. I don't want
that doesn't count.
I told you get that out of here.
I don't want to see that. I'm already mad.
Sorry.
LeBron James.
All right.
Yeah. All seriousness here.
And all serious, no. But thank you for just coming out for this fourth episode. And I think we're gonna go ahead and start with Dominic, who has I don't remember what character you're doing. So go ahead and teach us.
Oh.
I had to do that for JT. But the character that I have is Changeling, or as some of you guys might know him as Morph from the 90s X-Men animated TV show. Changeling was created by Ray Thomas and Werner Roth. His first appearance was in X-Men issue number 35, released in August 1967. So he has been around since the beginning, basically. His mutant powers are to shapeshift into any other person that he could imagine. Also has limited telepathic and telekinetic abilities, which I will explain later on. And he is a former member of the X-Men, X-Humed, and the Factor 3. So with his history, he got his start working for the villainous organization, the Factor 3. And during a mission with that team, Banshee, who we all know as the X-Men, was also on the Factor 3 as well. And he clashed with the X-Men, who captured both him and the mutant Ogre. And when they were captured, Professor X used his powers to release Banshee's headband that was put in control from the Factor 3, and he was able to remove it. And then once Banshee was free, he told the X-Men all about the Factor 3 meeting that he exposed all of the all of the members to the X-Men, including Changeling. So following that group's defeat, Changeling betrayed the mutant master who was in charge of the Path of Three upon learning that he was really an alien and intended to wipe out the human and mutant race. And after that, Changeling went to Professor X to reveal that he was dying from cancer, and he only had a few months to live. And so Professor X's plan was for Changeling to, first for Professor X to go underground, and then Changeling would impersonate him for the time being. And because Professor X had to go underground because he was preparing for an alien invasion, and so Changeling just took over Professor X in his absence, and with that, Professor X was able to give him telepathic abilities. And with masquerading as Professor X, he was unfortunately killed in battle, and none of the X-Men knew, except for Marvel Girl, of course, Jean Grey, that Changeling was actually Professor X, and so Professor X was able to make his return back to the X-Men without telling them the secret that's been going on. So Changeling was buried as Professor X, but then he was resurrected uh, years later by Master Black Talon, I think that's how you say his name, and brought Changeling back as a zombie, a part of the undead mutant group that was named X-Hume. Then after that, after Black Talon found out that Changeling, wasn't good use, he just left him for dead, basically. So now, years and years later, Changeling was resurrected by the Five in Krakoa. And if you guys don't know who the Five in Krakoa is, they basically are a group of five mutants who use their powers to bring mutants back to life. And so by bringing Changeling back to life, he is now a citizen of the mutant nation Krakoa. There's no information on if he joined back with the X-Men, but it's kind of heavily implied that he is just a regular citizen and just completely left out his heroic duties. So that's basically Changeling's history. Doesn't have much history to it, and like I said before, he's mostly known as more from the '90s X-Men animated television series, and just some short history about that. He was, of course, a member of the X-Men, and then he was unfortunately killed in the first episode. And then Mr. Sinister was able to bring him back to life, and then he's been, you know, fighting against the X-Men because he was under Mr. Sinister's control. And then once he got out of his control, he decided to go back to Mirror Island so he can get help and whatnot. But he was able to make his final appearance in the series finale when Professor X was dying, and then Morph was able to give his last goodbye before he was off to go to space with Laundra. So that's my character review on Changeling. Hopefully you guys learned something new about him. No, he's not a well-known character, but guys learned something new about him.
Yeah, for sure. So
Definitely died a lot.
Huh?
He's died a lot.
Yeah.
So his current
Poor guy.
self, that's the resurrected one from like the five of Krakoa, whatever, however you say it.
Yeah. So the way like the resurrection works, it's kind of like their minds are like transferred into cloned bodies of them. So it's basically still them. It's not their original bodies, it's their cloned bodies. And a great example of it is when House of X first started, some of the X-Men went on to a mission in space. I believe it was Jean Grey, Cyclops, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and a couple other mutants. And then they were unfortunately killed in space. But the five were able to create cloned bodies of them and have their original minds come into those cloned bodies and resurrect them back to life. So, like, if I were a mutant and I got killed somewhere, my mind will go into the clone's body, and then I'll basically be.
Well, like,
That's
what
fine.
what would happen, like, specifically for mutants? Like, say I was Wolverine, I died in space, you resurrect me, put me in a clone's body, would I still have my adamantium? That's the thing, because it's only my conscious going into that clone's body.
Oh yeah, you will still have your powers and whatnot because they still have theirs.
Okay, so would it be the natural claws, would you say, or would it be the adamantium claws? Because the adamantium aren't natural; they came in afterwards from Stryker.
I'll probably assume it's the adamantium claws because he still has his adamantium claws now.
Right. Okay. So I guess for like Blink, Gambit, et cetera, they would just have their powers along with their conscious in the
Hmm.
clone. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, it kind of tripped me up, but that's pretty cool though. That's pretty interesting, definitely.
I remember him back in the '90s TV show. I when you said morph, I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. So
Yeah, and a fun fact about that, uh, normally Morph wasn't going to be in the series. The X-Men that was going to be in his place was Thunderbird, if you guys know who he is.
Yeah.
And producers of the show basically said, like, it would be a bad look on those because we'll be killing a Native American, like, the first episode of the series. So I can kind of understand why they didn't use Thunderbird in that role, and then just decided to use Morph, who's a lesser known X-Men character, to basically fill that void.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, that about wraps it up for your character, right, Dom?
Hmm.
All right, and then I think Christian's up next. Who do you have, Christian?
Well, mine's a little more lighthearted, I guess you could say. So his name is Dr. Bong, um, like Bong.
Why he's called that?
Yeah, he's a
Go ahead.
supervillain.
Hmm.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, go ahead and tell him the year he was created, so people kind of get the vibe.
Oh,
Besides,
yeah. So Dr. Bong first appeared in Howard the Duck number 15
my
in
guy,
August of 1977. So you can kind of get where the idea came from. He's a
Pretty cool,
supervillain
dude.
in Marvel Comics. He's an arch foe to Howard the Duck, as we know who he is. He was created by Steve Gerber and Mary Severin, and his alter ego goes by Lester Verde. So his abilities: he's a genius scientist. He's also has advanced knowledge of genetic engineering. He wears a bell-shaped helmet that can be struck to create a number of an effects, and which include powerful blasts enough to bend metal, and has the ability to teleport to a different place. Um, and yeah, he's just like a relatively small time villain for Howard the Duck. In terms of his character biography, he came to be bullied when he was a kid, and when he was complaining about being bullied to his mother, he used a lot of creative insults when describing them. So his mother inspired him to be a writer since he's so creative when he was mad, and he grew up to be a journalist, and he just kind of went around the world. He was like in a punk band, and that became that became part of the reason why he became Dr. Bong. And he later became a skilled scientist in his knowledge in chemistry and physics. And he created several devices and creatures to his bidding. And he made this one creature called Fifi the Duck, which is his closest thing that he's going to have to a henchwoman. It's not a real person, it's like a mechanical duck that would help him in his crimes. And yeah, he just kind of let that bullying get his past. Never let him. He never let go of his past, and so he wanted to just create these little shenanigans, and Howard the Duck would stop him. He's not like a super serious villain. He's just a fun little villain for a fun Marvel. Um, his inspiration came from Dr. Moreau, which is H.G. Wells, one of his most famous characters that he written in science fiction genre. And yeah, I mean, he's just a fun little character. I thought the name was funny, and yeah, there's definitely like probably some meaning behind it. due to the decade that he was made in. But yeah, he's just a fun little character. Very colorful. If you look up a picture of him, he's very colorful, and he looks very, I guess, memorable. I've never seen a villain that looks like this guy. He's kind of like a mixed match of different villains. He has like a cape and he wears a suit, and his helmet or his head is definitely the most significant of change of the character. But yeah, he's a pretty cool little fun character. And yeah, pretty cool.
Good stuff. Now I know he was like a small time villain. In like where was this based at? Like, did it say like New York or a certain planet? Or I mean, well, he joined a punk band, so it had to be Earth 616.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's on Earth. He's not like some kind of super. He doesn't have like a gene that made him like like a meta-human or anything or an X-Men. He is just really good at creating things. Dr. Moreau, if you don't know, from H.G. Wells, he's a scientist that lived on his own island that had the ability to create hybrid humans, like created out of like mechanization. So basing him off of basing Dr. Bong after Dr. Moreau, he makes just contraptions, like metal contraptions, and he made his pretty much his only companion, Fifi the Duck. And yeah, I mean, he's not like he's just mechanically and scientifically inclined. He's not like a super. He can't fly or anything like that. But apparently, the things that he makes can give him physics breaking abilities like teleporting and stuff like that, which they really don't kind of explain because it was made in the 70s, and he's more of like a fun villain, kind of like the trickster to the Flash. He's just kind of like a fun villain, nothing too serious.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they don't specify where, but it has to be on Earth. I just don't know where on Earth.
Right.
I was going to say, when you showed us a picture of him earlier before we recorded, I saw his helmet. I thought you were showing Dr. Fate for a second. You know who I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
His helmet does remind me of him a little bit.
Yeah, the helmet of Naboo. Yeah, it does. It has the same color and the same structure, minus the giant handle on top.
Right.
Of the bell, and he does carry. If you look at the picture, he does carry bells in his hands, and he rings them, and then they create like effects, like blasts and stuff. But they're kind of like a magician's hat. You don't know what you're gonna get out of it. It's just random. So he just does it, and then hopefully something will work out. It's not like he can control what he throws at you, but that's the funness of the character, I guess. It makes him kind of unpredictable.
Interesting.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely a pretty interesting person. Does anybody else have any questions about Dr. Bong?
Bong.
Yes, indeed. Okay, well, I will go ahead and hop into my character. I'm up next with Devil Dinosaur. Now you might not recognize the name, but you might recognize what this creature looks like. This is the giant red T-Rex. You might have seen him here and there with a character riding him in like space or different worlds other than Earth. But I'm not sure if you guys are that deep into comics. But his real name is Devil. Some of his aliases are, or how do you say that?
Aliases.
Aliases, that's right. Okay, I knew I was like.
I say it like that too, Darren. So you're not alone.
That's not wrong. I mean, that's not right. He goes by Devil Dinosaur, Devil Dino Thor, like how Thor is spelled, and then Thunder Lizard. Honestly, I like Thunder Lizard and Devil Dinosaur the best, but I'm just gonna call him Devil for short. He's a mutant / like devil beast. So I mean, like mutants have those genes, those like superhuman abilities. Kind of, they're born with them. He wasn't really born with them, but it kind of came after. That's why he's more like a devil beast, which is something else in the Marvel comic universe. But this giant T-Rex stands 20 feet tall. He is 6,000 pounds. He has red skin, red eyes. It is a male. And the place of origin where this creature is from is called Dinosaur World. It's literally as simple as that. I mean, talk about comics in the 70s. But yeah, it's pretty simple. But he wasn't from Earth 616. There was, obviously we know multiverses kind of originated a long time ago in comics, but they didn't really mention them as multiverses. They just said alternate universe, which now we have a shorter term for it. We can, refer it to this and that, like Endgame was a big thing. But he was actually from Earth 78411, which is a primitive reality in the past. So basically, I mean, like 10,000 BC or something, just where dinosaurs existed, but on a different planet. Well, Earth, but it says Dinosaur World where he's from, which the story that I'm about to tell you takes place. But some of its abilities, or his abilities, are superhuman strength, which I don't really get the superhuman part since he's a dinosaur, but whatever. I mean, you get the reference. His intelligence level is above humans, which for a dinosaur, this guy's like ridiculously smart. I mean, because some dinosaurs are honestly pretty dumb. Like velociraptors are really smart. But anyways, although being a mutant or of the devil beast species, so that's like a certain species, he has sometimes stated to be a mutation of Tyrannosaurus Rex, but like a different I don't know how to put it, like an unusual version of a standard T-Rex. But he was created by Jack Kirby in 1978. The first appearance as Devil Dinosaur was in issue number 1 for April 1978, and then as Devin Dinosaur, which was his other name that he went by, that was with Moon Girl and some other character named Devil. That was issue number 33, but that was in 2018. So it jumps like 30 years. So I mean, or no, that's like 40 years. But yeah, so basically on that Earth, or where is this, Dinosaur World, he was the younger version of him. Devil Dinosaur was nearly burned to death by this tribe called Killer Folk, who were like kind of like dangerous, hostile natives to Dinosaur World, and they nearly killed this creature. But he was rescued by this character named Moon Boy, which I didn't really get into depth with. I just kind of skimmed over it. I was like, okay, he must be a native of this planet. But it later gives you the answer. Moon Boy was actually a member of a different tribe. It was a rival tribe of the Killer Folk, and it was called Small Folk. Exposure to the Killer Folk's fire activated a mutation in the dinosaur, which gave him the powers greater than others of his species. So there's like a species of, standard green T-Rexes in Dinosaur World, and this fire kind of generated some mutation in this T-Rex's body, which turned him red, which I thought was pretty neat. It's just, I mean, it's not really an artificial power, it's something natural, but that fire kind of caused that mutation in the dinosaur. So I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. But Moon Boy kind of picked him up, saved his life. So Devil Dinosaur kind of remained loyal to him, and he kind of got more intelligent over the years, where this is where he acquired that like higher IQ. He kind of became smarter than humans. But actually he had like he met up with Godzilla. Now this is like, I don't know how true this is, but I pulled this off of like 3 comic sources, including fandom, and some other stuff. But it says after Godzilla went on rampages throughout Earth in an attempt to stop the monster, S.H.I.E.L.D. shrank Godzilla with Pym particles and attempted to teleport him via a time machine to a prehistoric past. And it says, however, Godzilla's radiation distorted the time machine so that he was transported to an alternate universe of the dinosaur world instead. So it's not your standard dinosaur world. It was like an alternate universe, which is kind of crazy. They like didn't fail, but it also failed at the same time. And while Godzilla was there, he briefly united with Moon Boy and Devil Dinosaur. So they all teamed up on Dinosaur World against a common foe, which was known as the Lizard Warriors, which I don't really know who they are, but they're just warriors that are lizards, I'm assuming. But they finally got pulled back to their home universe, which is good. But it was pretty interesting. And he had some meetups. I'm not sure if he fought alongside or against the Celestials or Hulk, but they mentioned that as well. But I didn't get too in depth with it. But yeah, that about sums it up for Devil Dinosaur. It's pretty interesting though. But usually in the comics, I usually just see the standard red T-Rex. I mean, he's the same color as Red Hulk, just a T-Rex. Or I'll see a little boy riding him, which is Moon Boy, now that I know.
Comics, man. They'll pull anything and everything to make it interesting.
So just to make sure, like, he's not associated with the devil or anything because of his name.
No.
Because this is a Christian podcast. I'm gonna put it out there.
Yeah, he's definitely the devil, Dom. You better run. Hang up now while you can.
Now, is this the same dinosaur in the comic book cover that like the little kid is like looking up at, and then the dinosaur is like,
With Moon Girl.
yeah,
Could be Moon Girl too, because he was acquainted with Moon Boy. Of course, he was loyal to him.
right,
But could have been Moon Girl as well.
okay, very
But-
interesting.
That's pretty cool. Are there any notable dinosaur like rivals from Dinosaur World that are against Devil Dinosaur or whatever?
I don't know, actually. That's a pretty good question. I would probably have to look into that just to
Yeah,
see.
yeah, like you know how like Venom's a symbiote from a
Right.
world, and then there's like other symbiotes like Carnage, and
Exactly.
are there other dinos that are like bad or
I wonder if
or
there were. I mean, I'm sure there were, from
Yeah.
his world, but he was the main. I'm not even sure if he was the only one, but he got set on fire, so he kind of mutated. I'm not sure if there was another one, like maybe kind of frozen and he mutated or something, or she mutated. Who knows? I'm gonna have to look that up, but I'll have to look up Dinosaur World
okay.
for Marvel. It might be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I'm always interested in like when animals or whatever, or I guess in this case dinosaurs take
Mhm.
the shape of a hero. Like for me, I've always when I look into the Green Lantern Corps in like DC.
Right.
Obviously, I like Earth's Green Lanterns like Hal Jordan, John Stewart, but like uh, I don't know all their names, but like there's like Kilowog, which is like this big brute.
You're talking about Krypton, right?
Yeah, and then there's like that little squirrel that's like a Green Lantern, and I don't know his name, but
There's a whole bunch
I,
of
I,
various creatures.
yeah,
that
it's just
build that, right?
diverse across because they are space cops, so like they
Different
protect the universe, the sector.
exactly.
So I've always liked when like animals or Amaterasu from Marvel vs. Capcom. It's like this dog that's a hero. It's just like I don't know. It's just cool.
Yeah,
We always get humans that are heroes, but it's always cool when
exactly.
aliens are heroes.
Even Lockjaw from the Inhumans
Yeah,
Yeah, all of them. Yeah.
with Black Bolt. But yep, yeah, it is pretty cool to have a creature, a beast, or whatever the case may be,
Mm.
non-human. It is pretty interesting. I do agree with that.
All right, JT. Thank
yes,
Yeah.
sir. All right, so you're walking into your local comic book store, right? And you run into a guy who is 6'4", 395 pounds, and you look up at him, and you're looking up at Deathlok, or as he's also known as Luther Manning. His first appearance was in Astonishing Tales issue number 25 of August 1974. Now, his powers include, but are they pretty much, he's a cyborg basically, but he has superhuman strength like everyone. He has stamina, agility, and reflexes, and a computer augmented brain. Again, he is a cyborg. Now, let me get you a little bit backstory on Luther Manning. Now, Manning was born in an alternate timeline in which the multinational corporation has used Operation Purge. Purge is basically what we know from the movies that we've all seen here. But this purge is it is used to rid that Earth of superheroes. Basically, they're going around and killing superheroes because they can. A colonel of that world's U.S. Army, Manning, was wounded in a battle, and he was picked up and made into what he is known now as Deathlok. Basically, Deathlok was meant to be controlled, but he somehow broke free of that mind control. And with the help of Godwolf, I don't know who that is, I didn't look into it, but with the help of Godwolf, Deathlok was transported to Earth 616, where Operation Purge had not yet been discussed. And with the help of Captain America, Deathlok was successful in preventing the program from ever happening. Now, a fun fact about Deathlok, Dom, you can back me up on this. We have seen Deathlok in the MCU. Yes, that is correct. Not in the movies, but he was actually a character in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think he was in the first season I know that for sure. And he was I think he was in the 5th season, I believe. But that Deathlok, there are many other forms of Deathlok. This Deathlok that I'm mentioning from the MCU, he was part of the Centipede program, which basically takes people and you put like a centipede like looking thing on your forearm, and it gives you powers.
Right.
And he, in the first season, he is used as like an experiment type, which ultimately, killed him. And then he was brought back as more of a cyborg type Deathlok that we know from the comics. But that is Deathlok or Luther Manning.
Luther.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Did you did you say who he was created by?
it didn't. I didn't see who it was, but I know he was. His first appearance was in Astonishing Tales, issue number 25.
Okay, cool.
I was reading up about him. It said that he battled Simon Riker as the Savior Machine, and his mind was ultimately transferred as Luther Manning's clone. And he also battles mutants alongside a time-traveling Spider-Man, which I thought was pretty cool. And later joined the CIA. I don't know if you saw that, but I have a Marvel Legend of this guy, like a 6-inch, and I've always been interested in him, but I've never actually went into depth. But that's just something I skimmed over while reading what characters we had. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Christian, to answer your question, he was created by Brendan Small and Tommy Bloch.
Oh, okay, he's unique in that sense because although I do love Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, they do make a lot of characters. So whenever you hear a character that's not created by them, it is a little refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting character. Did he ever fight with the X-Men or anything like that? Or was he ever associated with Caliban or anybody like that?
His was more of a. There's different forms of them. So.
Oh right, there is. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, you can take the one where he fought alongside Cap to end Operation Purge. That he fought along Cap, or you can go into the MCU one where he fought alongside and against Shield. So
right,
different forms, different realities.
I was just curious because when they came out with a Marvel Legends 6-inch figure of him, it was I think last year, maybe late 2018. Pretty sure it was 2019 though. They have a Build-A-Figure, so if you collect all 7 characters from the series, they give you a part to build a bigger figure. In the I think the 8-inch figure was Caliban, and they always have these certain characters in the series where they would relate to each other. So they have Deathlok, they had Gambit, they would have Blink, and then a few others, and they all made up Caliban, which is the guy from the X-Men, but he's kind of on the evil side. But I wasn't sure. But I mean, since there's various Deathloks in the universe, probably another one, might have been associated with them.
Right.
Yeah, sounds pretty interesting.
I did think it was interesting that the first character that it popped up with that he teamed up with was Cap, who also served in the army. So you have two army vets teaming up to defeat evil.
Yeah, so, for sure.
So very cool.
Definitely. All right, Josh, who do you have?
So mine's actually pretty short and sweet. Reason why is not because of not because of a lack of information, but an excess of information. There was so much to this guy. I did Dracula. So Dracula, whose creators are Bram Stoker, Jerry Conway, and Gene Colan, and he's in Earth 616. He was created. His first appearance was Suspense number 7, which was March of 1951. So he goes back. What?
Tales of Suspense?
It just says Suspense. I would assume it is Tales of Suspense, though. That's what I thought.
There is a Suspense series, but Tales of Suspense is Iron Man series.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't sure if he was associated with it.
It's probably Suspense then. Let's see. His powers are obviously capable of transforming a person to a vampire just by biting them, as you see, in normal.
Right, your standard.
Like that. Yeah, of course. He has powers of a superhuman, like superhuman strength, speed, stamina, agility, reflexes, healing, immortality, hypnosis, etc. It's like a long list of it, and that was just some of it. I know that some people might be confused with Dracula and Michael Morbius. They're not the same person. Michael Morbius is a living vampire. He takes the shape of like a bat, like Man Bat from Batman. That's more what that is what Michael Morbius is. Dracula is a human-ish person with obviously supernatural abilities. He's like the stereotypical vampire. So just in
Right.
case people get those two confused, they're two different characters. And Dracula is more of an independent. He's not. He's like an anti-hero. And his story goes back to AD 1430 when he was born. He was born in 1430 in Transylvania, and his life takes him all
Hotel?
over. Huh?
The hotel.
Yeah, Hotel Transylvania.
Hey.
It takes him back to 1430, and he ended up living through the Franco-Prussian War. For my history buffs, he also lived through World War One and World War Two, and a bunch of the wars in between, like the English Empire or the Empire. You know what I'm talking about? All these empires and stuff. He lived through all that. The British Empire, my bad. So he lived through all that stuff. He was weaponized in World War One, and
Ooh, like what? What do they have?
I don't. He was given like some sort of serum or something. I have to look back into the readings of it. But he was used as a weapon in the war to benefit the side of, I believe it was the Germans that took advantage of him. And then again, he had run-ins with the Nazis in World War II, and also with Cap and Bucky, who were obviously alive at that time. So he's been all over the MCU, or not MCU, sorry, all over the Marvel comic universe since 1430. So obviously he's not older than the celestial beings and all that stuff.
That's a good amount of time for
Right, but for like a grounded superhuman, yeah, he's been around for a long time. I mean, he's immortal, of course.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about Dracula.
Did he have like any common enemies with like other heroes, or was he? I mean, I know he's an anti-hero, but like,
so he didn't have
Magneto
like
hate
an
him?
antagonist. Let's say if he was a protagonist who was just like his main adversary.
Mhm.
Out of all the readings that I did, that he didn't have a main adversary. He just kind of, like I said, he was independent. Like he just kind of just did his own stuff. He kind of wrote his own wind.
Right.
I feel like when you've been alive for that long, that kind of is what happens. Like Vandal Savage, who was a guy from DC Comics, who has lived since before Dracula, since the cavemen were like alive on Earth. So he was there when, from then up until now. So he lived for thousands and thousands of years, and he's gathered knowledge all over the world. And he's gotten all this history in his head, and he is inherently like, he's immortal, like he can't die, but like he just walks around and just does his own thing. He's like grown out of like, he has built civilizations and empires that he's ruled over, but even then he's like, well, I have it, now what? And he just moves on. He doesn't really do anything. He's just like, I'm just living just to live.
Okay, so I just did some extra research. I wasn't wrong by what I said, but there is some clarification I need to bring up. There's two different Draculas now that I see. The Marvel version of Dracula was created by Jerry Conway and Gene Colan, the same guys that did the ones that I mentioned earlier. But the Marvel version was done in The Tomb of Dracula, Volume 1, 1972, co-written by Marv Wolfman. And the Marvel version, it was a different version of the Dracula that I previously had mentioned in Atlas Comics. That was the Suspense number 7. So two different ones. What I did to all that history and stuff, that was accurate to the Atlas Comics version. So I apologize on that. I obviously overlooked that. But it says here that he's had later that year, Morbius, the living vampire, who I previously mentioned, appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man for the first time, and Dracula followed in his own title some months later. So I do apologize for that.
Gosh, Josh, what are you doing to us? You're feeding us false information.
Well, it wasn't false. It was just the wrong character. Oh, Blade. That's who his archnemesis is. Blade. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that's
yeah.
obvious. He's a vampire slayer or hunter. Interesting.
I'm gonna watch that movie tonight.
Yeah, I was like, maybe I want to watch
I
that.
haven't seen any of the Blade movies.
I have all three of them.
Mentioned this.
Don't say that. Dom's not gonna like you anymore.
Well, if it was on Netflix, then I would watch it. But it's not on anywhere.
I mean, I'm not mad. I mean, it's old, but
They are good movies, though.
they are good movies.
I heard Blade 3 is terrible though.
I haven't seen
Yeah,
them.
Blade 3 definitely fell off.
We don't talk about that, but the first two are amazing.
I mean, we could talk about Blade 3. I mean, it's not like other, third
Right.
movies. Huh?
Didn't they make a fourth one?
I think they tried.
Yes, they did because I have it in my DVD set.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's something else, but that's pretty cool though, Josh. It's a pretty
Yeah.
interesting character.
Blade
I
3
really liked our characters this week. I found out they were like pretty interesting. Some weeks, it's like, okay, we know some about this character. Some weeks I'm like, oh my gosh, like never heard of this character, never thought I would, but this is an awesome character. Maybe we can reference him. Maybe we can see him or her in a movie in the future. But this week I really liked ours. Like Dracula was pretty cool. I liked mine. I like Christian's. Everyone's, they're all pretty interesting, and I'm looking forward to next week's just to see what we would have. But that about wraps it up for our character review for this week.
Oh,
So
God, what is JT doing now?
don't mind JT. He's going to look for Tony Stark. But
Okay.
if you haven't seen our previous character review, it's on YouTube from last week. We had characters like Blizzard. We'll see you next week. Be sure to like and subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe. We will be back for episode 5. We'll let you know the characters that we'll be doing next week, and we will see you guys next time.
Hey, what's going on, nerds? Thank you for checking out today's video. Be sure to hit subscribe on our channel so you can keep up with all of our latest content, all of our latest videos for Star Wars, Marvel, DC. We got it. Thank you.